Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. The stronger road of comprehensive comics, there is no strongest, only stronger. What is stronger is endless. After crossing a different world, Liu Ping'an awakened a stronger system and embarked on a path of strength. This is a story of an ordinary person, a pursuit of freedom, and a slightly exciting story. Not only wandering in one world, but also crossing other worlds. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Meteorites from the Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Blue Star. Heavenly Dynasty. Night. A young man in ordinary clothes is walking slowly on the street. Sigh. It's getting dark again, the young man sighed with a tired expression on his face, his eyes blank. What time is it? Forget it, it doesn't matter anymore. Why don't you hurry back to the rental house for dinner? You still have to wake up early and start work tomorrow. Step by step. On this street, which was only illuminated by streetlights and empty, the footsteps of young people were exceptionally clear. Sizzling. There seems to be a street light in front with a short circuit, constantly flashing and emitting a sizzling electric current sound. It can't be picked up, it's quite scary. The young man looked at the streetlights with a disdainful expression, feeling nothing in his heart, or rather, having no mood to generate other emotions. To be honest, if young people had encountered such a situation when they were children, they might have felt a little uneasy and ran away quickly. But now. Hee. Sorry, the young man said he has nothing to worry about. I have been working for almost 10 years and have been riding horses to work. Is there anything more terrifying than going to work? Do you have it? Haha, what others think, young people don't know. Anyway, young people think it doesn't matter. Can they really encounter ghosts? Ah. Tired, destroy it. If there were a meteorite falling from the sky, maybe it would be easier. Hee, sizzling. Zhi. Pi li pa. The street lights around the young people suddenly flickered and emitted a sizzling electric current, and the sound grew louder and louder. Seeing this scene, the young man's indifferent expression suddenly froze. The young man is a bit confused. What's the situation with this horse riding? It's not true, is it? Do you want to talk like this? Thinking of this, the young man's heart suddenly became flustered, and he no longer remained indifferent, intending to run away quickly. This situation is obviously abnormal, it's better to run. If you really encounter a ghost, not running would be like waiting to die. Unfortunately, it's too late. The young man had just taken 2 steps, and this strange situation was as if he knew he was going to run, when suddenly a huge change occurred. In the sky ahead of the young man, a crack suddenly appeared in a place that had nothing but air. Sting. The crack seemed to have been torn apart, and suddenly a huge opening appeared, followed by a huge rock burning with flames, flying out of this spatial crack and heading straight towards the young man. The young man, who noticed that the surroundings suddenly became bright and the temperature suddenly increased, instinctively raised his head to take a look while running. Ah! The young man's expression suddenly turned fierce, grasped the grass. I'm just thinking casually. You're really stepping on a horse like a meteorite. Whoosh! The meteorite fell from the sky and quickly hit the young man. The scorching light and heat, combined with the oppressive feeling of facing death, make young people constantly sweat and sweat. Close, too close. The space crack was already close to the young people, and with the meteorite still moving at high speed, in just an instant, it approached the young people. And the young people who understood that they couldn't run also stopped their steps. It's just strange, maybe it was too sudden. Even if they knew they were about to be smashed to death, the young man's fear was not much, and instead a violent anger emerged. Grass mud horse, thief by heaven. The young man looked up at the sky with a fierce roar on his face, and then punched the meteorite. Grass. Bang. A huge meteorite instantly covered the young man and hit the ground. Sizzling. The sound of electric current became increasingly weak until it disappeared, and the previously flickering street lights were also lit up, returning to their original state. Some of the tall meteorites with 3 or 4 floors on the ground, shining with flames, as well as the huge craters that were smashed after landing, also disappeared completely. Everything has been restored to its original state, except for the young people who did not appear before. And the dazzling light brought by the meteorite's descent just now, as well as the deafening noise after landing, did not disturb anyone. It's strange, this is a city. In theory, this kind of anomaly should have been detected instantly by people who came to watch and take photos that became popular all over the internet, but in fact, no one noticed it. Even cats, dogs, and various insects in various invisible corners seem to have found nothing, busy with their own affairs. As if everything just happened in a specious world. A different world. Neon. Chiba City. In a residential area, there is a house that looks quite ordinary but appears somewhat unique due to the lack of a house number or surname. This is an ordinary 2-story residential house with neon lights, and what's more considerate is that there is a small courtyard outside the house. On the second floor of the house, in a simple room, a young man suddenly opened his eyes with a grim expression. Grass. The name of the young man is Liu Ping'an. He has been alone since childhood, and his academic performance is average. He is considered a scumbag with few friends, and is a typical ordinary person who cannot be more ordinary. The only unusual thing may be a bad temper. After all, barefoot people are not afraid of wearing shoes, there is nothing to lose, so they are very fearless of power. Simply put, no matter who dares to provoke me, I will fight and fight hard. Anyway, I have nothing. Of course, also because he had experienced the coldness of the world since childhood, even if he had a bad temper, Liu Ping'an relied on not having too many sharp edges and was not expelled from school. In addition, after entering the factory and working in adulthood, Liu Ping'an's originally irritable heart gradually calmed down after being polished by society once again, which had no sharp edges. Perhaps with the passage of time, Liu Ping'an's bare and unafraid waist, which is not afraid of wearing shoes, will gradually bend down. After all, Liu Ping'an is just an ordinary person with no ambition, nor dare he have any ambition. It would be good if he could live a peaceful life. However, the accident eventually happened. Liu Ping'an never expected that one day he would die so absurdly. He was actually killed by a meteorite falling from the sky. Is there still a royal law? Is there any natural reason? By the way, why did this meteorite reach the top of its head so quickly? I really don't have any reaction time. Chapter 2. Stronger Systems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Regarding his own way of death, Liu Ping'an expressed that it was very disturbing because it was too absurd, especially as he couldn't figure out how the meteorite appeared above his head. Of course, at that time, Liu Ping'an didn't have the time or mood to think about the extreme situation. Liu Ping'an only knew that when facing the threat of death, a violent aura that had not appeared in a long time suddenly filled his mind, chest, and even every part of his body. The raging anger, boiling with a roar, has always been restrained and turned into fuel, making the anger soar into the sky, vowing to compete with the sky. Thief, my life is all in pieces. If you don't let me go, you really treat me like a bully. Grass with a roar, Liu Ping'an unleashed an angry fist on his face. Perhaps I should be grateful to the heavens. Maybe, the feeling of punching with all my might is truly nostalgic. If there is a next life, even if I'm afraid of death, I don't want to live so suffocated. Goodbye, Liu Ping'an. Also, thank you, my goodness. I'm really sorry for scolding you. This is Liu Ping'an's last thought before losing consciousness. Brush. Liu Ping'an suddenly opened his eyes and his face turned ferocious. He quickly got up on the bed. Who? 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 Liu Ping'an was panting heavily and his eyes were wide open. He didn't react for a moment and his mind was a bit confused. After a few minutes, the violent aura slowly dissipated, and Liu Ping'an's mind slowly cleared up. Suddenly, he realized that he was still alive. No, no. Liu Ping'an shook his head with a hint of doubt on his face. Did all the previous ones come from his own dreams? It shouldn't be, it was just too real before, it didn't feel like it was a dream at all. Liu Ping'an, who couldn't understand, instinctively extended his hands and presented them to his eyes. No, my hands and skin seem to be getting younger. Liu Ping'an touched each other's hands and found that they had indeed become smoother and younger. He quickly touched his face again. With this touch, indeed, the skin on the face became smoother and younger. Liu Ping'an instinctively touched his abdomen again and said, I'll wipe it, and my belly's gone. Liu Ping'an felt something was wrong and quickly lifted his clothes to look at his abdomen. He found that his small belly had indeed flattened after work. Then he flipped the clothes up and found several familiar scars on his chest, and instinctively breathed a sigh of relief. Then he put down his clothes and directly took off his shirt. After looking at the familiar scar on his arm, he breathed a deep sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's still my own body, I just became younger. At this point, Liu Ping'an had already roughly guessed what had happened. I may have traveled through time and space, and my body and soul have fully traveled together. The reason why my body has become younger may be due to traveling through time and space. As a young man in the new era, Liu Ping'an has a great ability to accept the idea of traveling through different worlds, and even has a vague expectation of traveling through different worlds, obtaining cheats, and thus reaching the pinnacle of his life. Liu Ping'an walked barefoot on the bed and looked at the layout of the room. After realizing that it was not his rented house, he confirmed his hypothesis once again. I looked at the shoes on the ground, the clothes thrown on the bed, and the pants worn on my body again, and realized that they were not the same set as before. I didn't care, but started taking deep breaths. Suck. Ha. Suck. Ha. After taking several deep breaths in a row, Liu Ping'an calmed down and began to call softly in his heart. System. System, are you there? If you're here, just give me a response. That's right, Liu Ping'an is calling out for the system. After all, the system is a standard configuration for time travel. Now that everything has been time travel, there is only one system left. Liu Ping'an naturally called out with great anticipation. Liu Ping'an is looking forward to reaching the pinnacle of his life. System. System, come out. I'm Liu Ping'an. Please come out quickly, system. Ding. Confirm the host's call, stronger system awakening, and whether the host confirms binding. Upon hearing the voice from his mind, Liu Ping'an, who was calling out, was instantly ecstatic, feeling a burning sensation that filled every part of his body. Confirm binding, system, I confirm binding, quickly bind me. Liu Ping'an suppressed his ecstasy and kept talking about binding. The host agrees to bind, and the stronger system starts binding. 1%. 5%. 50%. 100%. Ding. Stronger system binding successful. Haha. The next moment, just after confirming the successful binding, Liu Ping'an was so ecstatic that he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Suddenly, a piece of content came to Liu Ping'an's mind. Liu Ping'an stopped laughing and started reading this passage. Time passed by, and his expression kept changing, becoming increasingly strange and speechless. I've been causing trouble for a while, and I've wrongly blamed the heavens. This section is about the introduction of system functions and the reason why Liu Ping'an traveled through time. After a long commotion, the meteorite that descended from the sky was the system. The reason why the street lights sizzled and flickered was simply because they were disrupted by spatial distortion and tearing. When the system descended, everything was blocked from being perceived, so except for Liu Ping'an, nothing could have detected the system, which was the meteorite falling from the sky and the flickering of street lights. And after the system took him away, he kindly restored everything to its original state, making it even less likely to be discovered crossing the meteorite. This is also the reason why Liu Ping'an's face is strange. It doesn't matter if I still wrong the heavens, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I apologized in the end and even thanked the heavens. I believe the heavens will forgive me, Liu Ping'an nodded seriously. God, you're amazing. You're aloof. If you want to scold me, just scold me. If you want to apologize, just apologize. I understand why you're so arrogant. What, you have a system, so you're really awesome. I can't afford to provoke you. Goodbye. After knowing the reason for the time travel, Liu Ping'an didn't care anymore. After all, it was a good thing, a great joy, and it was enough to be happy. System, open the panel. Schwa. A system panel that only Liu Ping'an could see appeared in front of him. The overall panel was golden with black font on it. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. Currently unavailable. Ability. Currently unavailable. Talent extraction. 0/100. Ability extraction. 0/10. Stronger space. Large gift package. Chapter 3. Noble horses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. Currently unavailable. Ability. Currently unavailable. Talent extraction. 0/100. Ability extraction. 0/10. Stronger space. Large gift package. Ha. Ha. Looking at the system panel in front of him that only he could see, Liu Ping'an's breathing was somewhat rapid. This is the system, it's the capital for me to turn over. This. It's really amazing. Hee hee. Ho 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 ho. Ha ha ha. Liu Ping'an wanted to suppress laughter, but found that he couldn't suppress it at all. He could only laugh as quietly as possible. There was no way to suppress this heartfelt joy. The ability of the system is also clear at a glance, mainly by extracting talents and abilities to become stronger. After all, the system is a stronger system, and its main capability is to make the host stronger. Ha! After laughing for a while, Liu Ping'an gradually suppressed his smile, took a slow breath, and then shifted his gaze to the system panel. To be precise, it should be placed on a larger gift package with stronger space, as talent and abilities cannot be extracted temporarily, and the large gift package is obviously the first step to becoming stronger. System, open the big gift package and let me see what's inside. Ding. Opening the big gift package. Draw talent once. Ability extraction once. Talent. The Word of God. A new identity. Whether to claim it or not. Claim. Claim it quickly. To be honest, the abundance of this gift package far exceeded Liu Ping'an's expectations. Not only could each talent and ability be drawn once, but they also directly obtained a talent, which was really exciting. As for that new identity, Liu Ping'an probably means his identity in a different world. Successfully claimed. The next moment, the golden system panel changed. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. The Word of God ability. Currently unavailable. Talent extraction. Can be extracted, 0/100. Ability extraction. Extractable, 0/10. Stronger space. New identity. System, extract talents. Liu Ping'an didn't care about his new identity, but directly drew his talents. There was no way he could do it. Liu Ping'an wanted to become stronger too much. After all, becoming stronger is human instinct and nature. In order to become stronger, I don't know how many people choose to abandon all their pursuits, but they still fall into this process one after another. In contrast, Liu Ping'an has obtained the system and can directly become stronger, but how could he care about any new identity at all costs? To put it simply, as long as it is strong enough, all problems are not problems, and what is the key is naturally self-evident. Ding! Talent extraction is underway. Well, I have to say, the system panel is very simple. While waiting, Liu Ping'an sat on the bed, feeling a bit hollow. Succeeded in extraction and gained talent. The noble horse. The noble horse. What talent is this? Liu Ping'an was a bit confused, and the name of this talent was indeed too strange. Whether to claim it or not. Claim it. Although Liu Ping'an had some doubts, he did not hesitate and decisively chose to claim it. The next moment, deep in Liu Ping'an's mind, a golden light suddenly burst out, and Liu Ping'an's mind also came to the edge of the golden light. Cry. A high horse hiss echoed through Liu Ping'an's mind, a colorful steed running up and down in the golden light, flickering and moving. At this moment, looking at the horses in the golden light, the word noble inexplicably appeared in Liu Ping'an's mind. At the same time, a warmth from the depths of his soul suddenly swept through Liu Ping'an's entire body. Liu Ping'an, who had returned to his senses, had a comfortable face and unconsciously began to cry out. In the next moment, Liu Ping'an also understood the true face of talent. The noble horse, which is the horse charm of the Holy Lord. A noble horse can dispel all external forces, in other words, it can heal everything and restore everything. Liu Ping'an is extremely satisfied with the talent of obtaining a noble horse. After all, the horse talisman is not just about healing, it is simply an immortal body. With this talent, the ability to save lives can be fully utilized, and mothers no longer have to worry about their children getting injured. Cough. To get to the point, after all, this is a talent, not a talisman, and definitely cannot go against the sky like a talisman. Of course, this is also normal. As for talent, it definitely becomes stronger with the owner, and cannot be achieved in one step. As long as Liu Ping'an can become stronger, the noble horse can also reach the strength of the horse talisman. Even if it surpasses the horse talisman, he dares to do it alone without much difficulty. Who? Liu Ping'an, who had just regained his senses from the comfort, instinctively breathed a sigh of relief and ignored the previous cry, feeling a more relaxed and joyful spirit. The warm current just now was a natural talent. The power of the noble horse came into play, healing the body and even the soul, dispersing fatigue and reaching the pinnacle of state. It has to be said that the noble mark is much stronger than the word of God. When he awakened the talent of the word of God before, only a warm wave swept through his body and disappeared instantly. Of course, there's nothing wrong with the word of God, it's just that its function is different. The ability of the word of God is mainly reflected in language learning. After possessing the word of God, regardless of any language, as long as it appears in front of Liu Ping'an, whether it is someone else's speech or written words, Liu Ping'an can learn it completely without a teacher in a short period of time. It can be said that the word of God is a cheating tool for learning written languages, which can help Liu Ping'an quickly learn languages from other worlds and thus understand them. So, Liu Ping'an is also very satisfied with this talent. Alright, since the talent has been drawn, it's time to draw abilities. I'm not sure what abilities will be drawn, but I hope it's an ability that can quickly strengthen me. Liu Ping'an's lips curved slightly, his fists rubbed and he smiled expectantly. System, extraction ability. Ding. In the process of extracting abilities. Time slowly passed, only a few seconds later, but Liu Ping'an felt a sense of tension and anticipation as he spent his days like a year. There's no way, this draw is too important. It's related to whether Liu Ping'an's next path will be to make rapid progress, sing all the way, or temporarily accumulate draw points. Extraction successful. Coming. Liu Ping'an looked expectantly at the golden system panel. Chapter 4. The True Skills of the Overlord. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding. Succeeded in extraction and gained the ability Overlord True Skill. Whether to claim it or not. Overlord's True Skill. Liu Ping'an had an expectant expression on his face. This name sounds very powerful. After all, if it can be associated with the word Ba Wang, it is impossible not to be fierce. Claim. The next moment. Boom. A earth-shattering roar echoed through Liu Ping'an's mind. Next came the cultivation content of Ba Wang Zhengong, which appeared in Liu Ping'an's mind in the form of a golden text. The true skill of the Overlord is a peerless martial art created by Xiangyu, the Overlord, with his innate divine power, unique skills from 100 schools, and experience in battlefield battles. He has reached the pinnacle of various understandings. Although this skill includes all 18 types of martial arts, including fist, foot, and weapon, it is the most straightforward and without any fancy, only for killing and attacking. This is actually a cultivation technique created by Xiangyu, the hegemon of Western Chu. Liu Ping'an was really surprised, but what followed was understanding. After all, throughout history, the name of the hegemon has been true to Xiangyu's name. As Liu Ping'an finished reading the golden text of Ba Wang Zhengong, the golden text also deeply penetrated his mind, was completely absorbed by his soul, and became an inseparable part of his own memory. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. The Word of God, the Noble Horse. Ability. Overlord True Skill 1 Realm, 0%. Talent Extraction. 0/100. Ability Extraction. 0/10. Stronger Space. New Identity. 1 Realm, it seems to be the realm defined by the system. Liu Ping'an glanced at the system panel and understood it clearly in his heart. Liu Ping'an has completely mastered the cultivation method of the Overlord True Skill. As mentioned earlier, although the true skills of the Overlord encompass everything, including all 18 types of martial arts such as fist, foot, and weapon, it is also extremely simple and without any fancy, just for killing and attacking. Simply put, although this skill requires mastering all martial arts skills at the beginning, once mastered, one can cultivate the true core of this skill. The Overlord Lifting Cauldron. The so-called Ba Wang Ju Ding refers to the integration of the martial arts mysteries that have been practiced before, combined with the technique of breathing and breathing, to integrate the mysteries. The mixed elements are like one, and the internal energy is self-generated. To put it simply, this Overlord True Skill is actually a divine skill that combines external and internal cultivation. By comprehending the 18 martial arts skills of fist and foot weapons and combining them with the breathing and breathing techniques of the inner family, one can refine the body and accumulate the essence and spirit of the Overlord's inner energy, which includes the mysteries of the inner and outer families. The purpose of all of this is to cultivate the divine power of lifting tripods in the future. After all, it is a cultivation method created by the hegemon Xiangyu based on his innate divine power. After cultivating internal qi to a certain level, the core cultivation content of Ba Wang Ju Ding will become a kind of killing and defeating mystery. Of course, there is no explicit mention of this cultivation method, it simply states that it is a realm that can only be understood and not expressed in words. Once the realm is reached, one will naturally comprehend it. Although Liu Ping'an was curious about this, he had no choice but to look forward to that day. The most important thing now is still cultivation. After all, only through cultivation can one become stronger and glimpse the beautiful scenery of the mountain in the future. But Liu Ping'an also has a headache. Yes, it's just a headache for practicing the Overlord True Skill. There is no other way, although the cultivation of Ba Wang Zhengong becomes more monotonous in the later stage, there is too much content that needs to be practiced in the early stage. Fists and feet are easy to say, but where can I find 18 types of weapons? Moreover, there are not only 18 types of weapons, 18 is just a general term. Of course, this is for Liu Ping'an. After all, it is difficult to obtain various weapons in modern society, and even if it costs money, people need to be hired to build them. Not to mention that Liu Ping'an has no money. Even before his travels, he didn't have much money, let alone now. Oh my goodness, he has nothing left. Wait, it seems like I still have a new identity that's not useful. Let's see what the new identity really is. Thinking of this, Liu Ping'an sensed a stronger space, which is the system space. Although it cannot hold any living creatures inside, it is infinitely large and time is still static inside. With a thought, a document in the stronger space was taken out by Liu Ping'an. Open the file, there is a document, a bank card, and an admission notice inside. Admission notice. Liu Ping'an is a bit confused. I'm almost 30 and still going to school. What's going on? Picking up the admission notice, Liu Ping'an looked up at the content above. Fortunately, it was written in 3 languages. One is Chinese characters, one is the language of a free country, and there is Neon language. Why is Liu Ping'an so certain? Because he loves learning. Yes, his status as a scumbag does not affect his hobbies. In addition, Liu Ping'an enjoys watching various anime, so it's not surprising that he can recognize Neon language. Even if you don't understand the meaning of each word, you can still recognize what language it is. In addition, there are several Chinese characters that can appear in the middle of each section of Neon language, which is such an obvious routine that no one knows it is Neon language. On this notice, it is written that Liu Ping'an, please come to Wuhan High School to report on enrollment in the year, month, and day of the fork. General Wu Gao. Liu Ping'an raised his eyebrows, wondering if it was the Total Martial Arts High School. If so, going to school is not impossible. After all, he loves learning. Putting aside the admission notice, since we are going to General Wu High School, it means that this is Neon. I don't understand Neon language yet, so I will look at it carefully after I understand it. I picked up my bank card and looked at it. I put it aside and couldn't understand the Neon bank card. In the end, it was this document. Upon opening the document, Liu Ping'an looked at it in 3 different languages. After carefully examining it from beginning to end, his face was unconsciously filled with a smile. Oh, I see, I see. I didn't expect this house to also belong to me. Is that okay? I didn't expect that I would also become a homeowner. Liu Ping'an is very happy. This system is really considerate, and he even gave a house directly. Love, love. As for this house, it belongs to distant relatives who inherited it, the 8th uncle of the cousin of the cousin of the cousin of the aunt. Cough cough cough. It doesn't matter who it is, anyway it's all fake, arranged by the system. In short, Liu Ping'an is a person with both body and soul, and has arrived completely at this Neon sign in another world. And as a student from the heavenly dynasty, in order to not disappoint the wishes of distant relatives, he resolutely came to Neon to inherit the property. Such a heartfelt move can be said to be earth-shattering. Throwing documents, admission notices, and bank cards all into a stronger space, Liu Ping'an collapsed on the bed and rolled comfortably. Hee 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 hee. Hee 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 hee. Give to. Chapter 5. Kung Fu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hee 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 hee. Give to. Ha ha ha. Liu Ping'an kept rolling on the soft bed, undulating vigorously, enjoying the softness of the bed, and the smile on his face couldn't stop. Who? Liu Ping'an quickly got up and put on his shoes. After gently exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, he carefully observed the room again and walked directly to the balcony next to the bed. Wow! Opening the glass sliding door, Liu Ping'an went to the balcony to observe the outside environment, then casually walked back to the room and walked out after learning about the specific situation of his house. For a while, Liu Ping'an returned with a satisfied expression on his face. That's really great. This house is not small, with all kinds of facilities available. The kitchen, bathroom, and living room are all on the first floor. And there are also 2 rooms on the first floor that can serve as guest rooms and 3 rooms that can serve as storage rooms. By the way, there is also a bathroom on the second floor, as well as 4 bedrooms. Overall, this house is very nice and very large. That's great. Liu Ping'an sat on the bed, his previous excitement swept away, replaced by a dazed expression on his face. He couldn't help but feel too excited. Suddenly traveled, suddenly obtained the system, suddenly had their own house, and it was a high-end house that this kind of effort could never afford for a lifetime. This series of stimuli, although initially overshadowed by excitement, as the excitement passed, a vague and ethereal feeling rushed into Liu Ping's mind, giving him an unreal feeling. Liu Ping'an extended his left hand and looked at it. After resting his finger on his arm, his eyes became fierce as he grabbed it tightly and twisted it forcefully. Hiss. Pain. Liu Ping'an grinned in pain, constantly rubbing the pinched area. Grasping grass, it really hurts to step on a horse, Liu Ping'an gritted his teeth and smiled, although it hurts really well. Ha ha ha. Then, with a thought, he activated the talent of the noble horse, and the pinched spot instantly recovered. Liu Ping'an stopped smiling, his face no longer dazed, but full of anticipation. I want to practice martial arts, I want to become stronger. It's just that I didn't have the chance before. Now that a grand road is in front of me, how can I not go and take a glimpse of the scenery on that mountain top? After murmuring to himself for a while, Liu Ping'an got up and went to the empty room. Following the cultivation method of the King of Fighters' true skill, he began his first cultivation in life. Of course, because he didn't have any weapons, Liu Ping'an could only practice martial arts such as fist, palm, finger, claw, elbow, capture, leg, body. In summary, the martial arts of the King of Fighters include all the training content of bare-handed combat, and Liu Ping'an's first practice was boxing. Time slowly passes by. The sky outside is gradually turning slightly red. In the room. Who? Liu Ping'an was sweating profusely, waving his fist over and over again, while panting heavily. Drip. A little sweat dripped from Liu Ping'an's chin onto a small puddle of sweat on the ground, and Liu Ping'an seemed to have noticed nothing, just staring and constantly waving his fist. To be honest, Liu Ping'an's punches have no aesthetic skills at all, only a straight and imposing manner. This is not that Liu Ping'an made a mistake, but rather that the boxing techniques of Bawang Zhengong are so straight and straightforward that they seem to have no aesthetic or technical skills. To put it simply, the martial arts of Bawang Zhengong tend to lean towards basic martial arts, but are more full of killing energy than basic martial arts. This is normal, after all. The true skill of the Overlord is the art of killing enemies on the battlefield, pursuing how to quickly kill enemies on the battlefield. The more flashy the fighting on the battlefield, the faster one often dies. Everyone is quick to kill the enemy, abandoning complexity and pursuing a fatal blow. You dance and spin, jumping left and right, whoever doesn't die will die. So Liu Ping'an didn't make a mistake in his practice. It's just because he's not yet familiar with it, he can't wield the kind of fist that moves forward and has a murderous aura. Dida. Who? Ha. Another drop of sweat fell to the ground, sweating profusely. Liu Ping'an, panting heavily, stopped practicing. Standing in place for a moment, Liu Ping'an felt unbearable pain all over his body, extremely uncomfortable. In the next moment, the healing ability was activated, and the exhaustion from earlier was swept away, replaced by a burst of relief. But then, Liu Ping'an felt his head sink and he felt a wave of fatigue all over his body. He stumbled back a few steps and held onto the wall before barely standing firm. Liu Ping'an understood that he had reached his limit. After all, that noble horse is a talent, not a spell, and talent is consumed. Every time a talent is used, it will consume its own energy, which can also be said to be the essence and spirit. Although it is rare, it cannot withstand many times. Twice or even a dozen times is not a problem, but Liu Ping'an has just started practicing and his current physique is not enough for long-term cultivation. He can only continuously recover and practice. Until now, Liu Ping'an finally couldn't hold on. He didn't know how long he had been practicing. He only knew that he had a dry mouth, a weak body, and a dull mind that couldn't open his eyes. Pop it. Liu Ping'an fell to the ground, closed his eyes, and began to rest. 10 minutes later, Liu Ping'an suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze no longer dazed, but appeared extremely clear and without any signs of fatigue. Hey! Liu Ping'an grinned and got up directly from the ground, moving his body with a relaxed expression. Speaking of which, talent is really elusive and mysterious. Every time you use your talent, the noble horse, you will completely restore your own state, even if it's your essence and spirit. But using talent itself will consume energy and spirit, although it is rare, it also leads to each recovery not being in the most perfect state. Even when the body reaches its limit, it will become extremely fatigued due to the use of talent and have to close its eyes and squint. Afterwards, activate the talent and restore all the essence and spirit separately by consuming a trace of essence and spirit, in order to fully recover. This is also the reason why Liu Ping'an only needs 10 minutes to rest and get up quickly. Of course, due to the consumption of talent when activated, it is still not in a perfect state. Gollum gollum. Liu Ping'an touched his stomach, looked at the sky, quickly cleaned up the sweat on the ground, then went to the bathroom to wash it, put on a bitter tea, and went downstairs to get something to eat. Chapter 6. Following Instinct. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Liu Ping'an was researching the situation of the house everywhere before, he found that there were various ingredients in the refrigerator, and all kinds of kitchen utensils and seasonings were complete in the kitchen. So Liu Ping'an prepared a whole meat feast to treat himself well. For his culinary skills, Liu Ping'an is still very confident. Although he cannot say how delicious it is definitely not unpleasant. After all, living alone is a bit more cost-effective, so I often buy groceries and cook. Because of this little accumulation, it's too complicated to say, simple ones are definitely not a problem. Take out some lean pork chops from the refrigerator, place them on the cutting board, and pick up the kitchen knife to make a fierce cut. After cutting the pork chops into pieces, start the pot and add some oil. After all, it is lean meat, so of course, add more oil. After the oil is hot, put the pork into the pot and add various seasonings to season it, especially the cumin chili noodles. Stir fry in one meal until they are 10 times ripe, then take it out of the pot and put it on a plate. Afterwards, he took out a bottle of happy water from the refrigerator and sat at the dining table, indulging in a frenzy of eating and drinking. What? Eating. Liu Ping'an also wants to, but there is only meat and vegetables in the house, and there is no staple food at all, so he can only eat meat alone. During the meal, Liu Ping'an had a sudden thought and opened the system panel. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. The Word of God, the Noble Horse. Ability. Overlord True Skill 1 Realm, 1%. Talent Extraction. 0/100. Ability Extraction. 0/10. It has to be said that watching the system panel while eating is a real feast, and the more Liu Ping'an looks at it, the better his mood becomes. It's a delightful experience. Especially the 1%, it made Liu Ping'an feel that the previous hardships were not worth it. At the same time, Liu Ping'an also discovered a hidden ability in the system, which is that every cultivation will provide feedback on proficiency to the realm. The so-called 1 minute of cultivation, 1 minute of harvest, is no longer a fantasy in Liu Ping'an's eyes, but a fact. This is also the reason why Liu Ping'an was able to achieve 1% proficiency even though it was his first time practicing. With this ability, Liu Ping'an's growth rate can be accelerated once again. I really don't know what other hidden abilities the system has, I'm really looking forward to it. Liu Ping'an was eating meat while thinking about what other abilities the system had. The previously transmitted abilities related to the system were only extracted from the displayed talent abilities. I think other abilities should be hidden and need to be discovered by oneself. After all, this stronger system lacks intelligence, and it all depends on Liu Ping'an to explore on his own. After a while, after finishing his meal and taking a sip of the remaining happy water, Liu Ping'an washed the dishes, cleaned up the kitchen utensils, and then walked upstairs to the room. Night falls. The room is brightly lit. Liu Ping'an lay in bed with empty eyes, although facing the ceiling, recalling his previous cultivation in his mind. At the same time, thinking about the cultivation content of the Overlord true skill, comparing it over and over again to deepen understanding. Thinking, Liu Ping'an's hands instinctively gestured, punching, blocking, and punching at the same time. Afterwards, Liu Ping'an stood up and opened the sliding door of the balcony, allowing the evening breeze to blow in to prevent sweat from spreading throughout the room. In the empty space of the room, Liu Ping'an began to practice again, still waving his fists one by one, repeatedly. Although it may be boring, as long as it can become stronger, being just dull is nothing. For hard work, hope may not be meaningful, but absolute hope represents absolute meaning. Now, Liu Ping'an has gained absolute hope and will naturally double his efforts, work hard, and die without regret for the charm of the mountaintop. I am not trying to prove anything, nor am I trying to pursue any bullshit dreams, let alone any last resort. I just follow my inner instincts, become stronger as I please, and step onto the mountaintop to see the scenery in the eyes of the strong, that's all. Liu Ping'an waved his fist and grinned silently. This is me, Liu Ping'an. I instinctively want to become stronger, Liu Ping'an. Time passes by. The moon sets and the sun rises, and the night passes quickly. As the morning sun shone into the room, Liu Ping'an, who was covered in sweat all over, stopped punching. He first healed his body, then lay on the ground feeling dizzy, regaining his energy and spirit. After 10 minutes of recovery, I got up and tidied up the floor. Then I went to the bathroom to take a shower. After washing the bitter tea seeds and replacing them with new ones, I went downstairs to cook. There's no way, it's convenient to dress like this for cultivation. Besides, Liu Ping'an is the only one at home. What's the big deal? Of course, fortunately, there are bitter tea seeds that have been washed at home. Otherwise, Liu Ping'an wouldn't even wear bitter tea seeds and would have walked the birds at home. After breakfast, Liu Ping'an returned to his room to practice. There was no way he could do it. Now, Liu Ping'an had a fiery flame in his heart, a blazing fire. The obsession of Liu Ping'an at this moment is to refine the true martial arts of the Overlord, cultivate inner chi, and cultivate innate divine power. The way to break this obsession is either to cultivate internal chi in the two realms, or no. Liu Ping'an looked at the empty refrigerator and roared with grief on his face. His emotions were so tragic that they could be described as soaring into the sky, scaring away all the birds on the roof. It has been 4 days since Liu Ping'an crossed the river, and today is the afternoon of the 5th day. At this time, the sky has become slightly red, and it is time for the sunset to set. And Liu Ping'an discovered a sad thing, that the ingredients at home were gone. At this moment, the raging fire became weak, devoid of nourishment from food, and temporarily unable to ignite. Sigh. Liu Ping'an sighed and said, "It seems we have to go out. There is no way, without eating, there is no strength to practice martial arts." In order to continue practicing martial arts, Liu Ping'an can only choose to go out and buy groceries. Second floor, bathroom. Liu Ping'an put on dried black casual pants and a white shirt, and rolled up the sleeves of the shirt. Looking at his youthful face in the mirror, Liu Ping'an's expression couldn't help but feel a hint of confusion. No matter how many times he sees it, Liu Ping'an is like this. After all, the power of changing time is too terrifying. Speaking of which, Liu Ping'an is also very self-aware of his appearance. He is not ugly and a bit handsome, but not very handsome, which means he is just a middle-aged person. But now it seems that perhaps due to practicing the true skill of Overlord, the whole person instinctively has a kind of masculine beauty, much more handsome than before. Touching his own face, Liu Ping'an's eyes flashed with satisfaction. Chapter 7. Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not bad, not bad. Liu Ping'an touched his cheek with a satisfied expression, and then looked at the sharp and angular body exposed due to the lack of fastening, which made him even more satisfied. Host. Liu Ping'an. Talent. The Word of God, the Noble Horse. Ability. Overlord True Skill 1 Realm, 10%. Talent Extraction. 0/100. Ability Extraction. 0/10. Gripping his fist and feeling the unprecedented sense of strength, Liu Ping'an's face was filled with sighs. With only 10% proficiency, the increase in strength is so obvious. I can't imagine how strong I will be after refining my internal energy. Exactly, let's go out and see what this place really looks like, and also try out the effect of God's word and how long it takes to learn a language. To be honest, Liu Ping'an actually wanted to go out and take a look before, but because he didn't feel secure when he first arrived in a different world, and his family was currently not short of food and drink, he planned to spend some time there. Unfortunately, human calculation is not as good as natural calculation. Although I think it's good, I overlooked that during the process of practicing martial arts, the consumption of food is several times higher than usual. I had eaten almost 20 days of food in just 5 days, and I couldn't even think of going out. However, it's okay. After these 5 days of cultivation, the progress of the Overlord true skill is quite obvious. Although there has been no qualitative change, this unprecedented sense of power is beyond doubt. To put it simply, Liu Ping'an now has some confidence and doesn't need to be as cautious as before. Besides, Liu Ping'an is just going out to buy some food, so he shouldn't encounter any danger. It's time to go out. Liu Ping'an fastened the button, took the key, walked downstairs to the door, changed into a pair of black shoes, and completely walked out of the house. Click. After closing the door and locking it, Liu Ping'an glanced at the small courtyard but didn't take a closer look and headed straight for the front door. On the street. Perhaps due to the fact that this area is considered a residential area, there are not many cars. It wasn't until we walked out of this area and arrived at a wide avenue filled with high-rise buildings that pedestrians and vehicles began to become more dense. Hoo! Dee 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 dee. The honking and whistling sounds of various vehicles kept coming into Liu Ping'an's ears. Walking on the seemingly bustling streets, Liu Ping'an's attention was focused on passing pedestrians. Expressionless, like a walking dead work machine, dressed in a uniform, talking and laughing all the way, as if a student without any worries, sweating and enjoying their youth recklessly. And elementary school students who walk and jump all the way, carrying small backpacks while running and looking back, hoping that their so-called companions will chase them and play happily together. These three are all walking on the same street, but they are extremely distinct, as if they are people from 3 different worlds, walking on the same line only because the worlds overlap, and in fact, they cannot see the other 2 sides at all. Youth, and middle age, although only 3 stages of life, live like 3 worlds. Liu Ping'an, who had seen all of this in his eyes, looked at these 3 types of people and then at the bustling surroundings, feeling an indescribable sadness in his heart. After all, if it weren't for the system, I would still be living such a screw-like life. Thinking of this, Liu Ping'an once again thanked the system in his heart. At the same time, the chirping and incomprehensible sounds that had been in his ears gradually became clearer, and Liu Ping'an gradually became able to understand them. Walking to a crossroads, the red light of the pedestrians ahead lit up. Liu Ping'an and the surrounding pedestrians stopped at the intersection, and the words of some female high school students next to him became clearer and clearer. Liu Ping'an was carefully experiencing the neon language that he had comprehended due to the words of God. After a while, the green light came on, and Liu Ping'an completely understood the neon language. Liu Ping'an, who was walking in the middle of the crowd, finally understood the language here and the words on the surrounding high-rise buildings. Ah, there's a new hair card store opened up ahead. Let's take a look together. I heard there are many new products inside. Okay. Well, this is a topic for those female students. Big neon bank. After walking for a while, Liu Ping'an finally found a bank and took out his bank card to check. Not to mention, it was quite coincidental that his bank card was also from this big neon bank. Without hesitation, he found an empty ATM and inserted his bank card, entered the password, and Liu Ping'an also knew how much money was in the card. 10,000 yen. To be honest, when Liu Ping'an saw this number, he was a bit confused, not too much, but too little. Sigh. Although it felt a bit lacking, it was ultimately a waste. Liu Ping'an shook his head and didn't care anymore. After all, we have already obtained a very good house. What else is there to be dissatisfied with? 10,000 is 10,000. Besides, as long as our fists are strong enough, are we afraid of not having money? Anyway, what Neon doesn't lack the most is the influence of clubs. Just find some time to get some from them. If the club is dangerous, you can also find those delinquent youths, as there are also many delinquent youths. Thinking of this, Liu Ping'an's lips couldn't help but slightly curl, and his gaze also became somewhat dangerous. After taking out all 10,000 yen and pretending to put it in his pocket along with the bank card spit out by the ATM, Liu Ping'an went straight to the nearby convenience store after receiving more space. However, it's a bit early to think about this now. It's better to wait a few more days, and we'll talk about it when we elevate the level of the Overlord's true skill a bit. After all, there are still 10,000 yen left now, and why do we have to be evenly matched to crush it? Isn't that a problem? Just in time, let's see how the number of ability points is calculated. Thinking of the methods for obtaining and using ability points, Liu Ping'an couldn't help but laugh. In convenience stores. Due to not having much money, Liu Ping'an wandered around for a while and ultimately chose those half-price bentos. There's no way, it's cheap, and there are all kinds of meat and vegetables, as well as rice. For Liu Ping'an, it's definitely the most cost-effective. After buying a bunch of half-price bentos and spending all 10,000 yen, Liu Ping'an went home with several large bags. At home. Gulu gulu. On the way, I kept screaming my stomach, but when I got home, it became even louder. Liu Ping'an didn't tidy up either. After putting these bags on the dining table, he picked up the bento inside and ate it. Fried chicken bento, grilled meat bento, fried noodles bento. After eating 5 or 6 bento in a row, Liu Ping'an finally sat back on the chair satisfied. Chapter 8. Inside and outside the door. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ah. 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 I'm full, I really enjoyed eating. It's a pity there's no water for happiness, otherwise happiness can be doubled. Liu Ping'an unbuttoned his shirt button and waistband, feeling his slightly bulging belly with satisfaction. There's no way, just 10,000 yen is not enough, of course we should try to buy all the bento. After taking a break for a while, he packed the finished bento box and threw it away at some time. He put the leftover bento directly into the refrigerator for storage, and then Liu Ping'an went upstairs to practice. The passage of time is like a white horse passing by a gap. Without paying attention, for more days have passed. On the first floor, in an empty room. Bang. Whoosh. Whoosh. Pa-ji. Ha. The sound of rapid breathing, footsteps, splashing sweat, quick punches and kicks, and various powerful sounds constantly emanated from the room. In the center of the room, Liu Ping'an's expression was serious and he continued to practice various exercises, sometimes punching, sometimes smashing his elbow, sometimes kicking his leg, sometimes stepping on the ground and punching. After several days of cultivation, Liu Ping'an gradually transitioned from fist techniques to elbow techniques, leg techniques, and footwork, and began to combine and practice, realizing the fusion of strength. Because there was too much movement in leg and step training, Liu Ping'an also found a room on the first floor to practice. After all, footwork and leg techniques all require borrowing power from the ground, and when combined with fist and elbow techniques, stepping on the ground to borrow power is even more necessary, so the second floor is naturally not suitable. At this moment, as the sunlight shining through the window in the room gradually turned red, Liu Ping'an also gradually stopped moving. Dida. Dida dida. The sweat on Liu Ping'an's body was like raindrops, ticking down and merging with the sweat that had fallen before to form a larger puddle. Hu. After slowly exhaling a breath, Liu Ping'an fell to the ground with his eyes closed and his mind refreshed, as if he had been drenched in rain. His innate power was quickly activated to eliminate fatigue and restore his state. 10 minutes later, Liu Ping'an, who had recovered, stood up, shook the sweat from his arms and legs, tidied up the room, and then went to take a shower. After taking a shower, I went to the kitchen, took out the last few bentos, heated them up for a while, and then started to gulp down. After finishing his meal and tidying up, Liu Ping'an did not return upstairs, but sat on the sofa in the living room, closed his eyes and regained his composure. Duh. The second hand of the clock keeps turning, and time quietly passes in this situation. The sun gradually sets in the west, and the red sunset gradually dissipates, replaced by endless darkness. However, the heavens are merciful. Even if the sun sets, the moon still brings light to the world. And with the moonlight falling, countless lights lit up in all the places where humans live. This Buddha statue is telling the heavens that humanity has overcome darkness and is no longer a lamb that can only shiver in the darkness. Unfortunately, just as dragon slayers eventually become evil dragons, humans who defeat the darkness ultimately replace the dark creatures that once extended their claws to lambs in the darkness. Darkness descended, and ghosts roamed at night. If there is light, there must be darkness. No matter how bright human lights are, there are always dark corners that cannot be illuminated. Schwa. In the dark room, Liu Ping'an suddenly opened his eyes and glanced at the clock under the faint moonlight. After confirming that it was around 8 o'clock, he took the clothes from the sofa and put them on. Black pants, black short sleeves, covered with a black hooded trench coat, and a black mask. Well, it's done, the disguise is perfect. After putting on black shoes and a hat at the door, he left home straight and headed straight for the bustling street he had walked before. There is no way, the more prosperous a place is, the dirtier it becomes when night falls. This is a timeless truth. Quickly, fully armed Liu Ping'an left the quiet residential area and gradually approached the bustling streets before. Step on. Didi. Ha ha ha. Gradually, the lights became brighter, the honking of vehicles became denser, and the noise of human laughter became louder and louder. The footsteps on the open road before seemed so insignificant at this moment. I arrived at this crossroads again, but the scene was completely different from what I saw last time. This is the intersection of residential areas and bustling streets, like an invisible door blocking the completely different views on both sides. Inside and outside the door are two completely different worlds, one bright and the other dark. However, under bright light, it may not be clean, and under the silence of darkness, it may not be dirty. Darkness and light are never distinguishable in just one sentence, because the place that filth likes is never darkness, and the shadows under the light. Liu Ping'an, who has been smoothed out since childhood, has a deep understanding of this. Of course, it's useless to think about these things now. After all, Liu Ping'an is not a philosopher and doesn't study them. After Liu Ping'an arrived here, he specifically chose places with small black alleys. The shadows under the light are not only easy to find, but also often crime sites. Of course, the most important thing is that the alleys are small and not crowded, so the safety can be higher. Therefore, Liu Ping'an approached these alleys and planned to try his luck. Goodbye. See you tomorrow. A woman wearing a lady's suit and glasses walked out of the tavern with her colleagues and said goodbye to each other, then walked down the street with a drunken expression on her face. My head hurts so much. The woman patted her head and stumbled, but what she didn't notice was a pair of big hands waiting for the opportunity to move in the alley ahead of her. As she passed by the entrance of the alley, a pair of big hands suddenly extended from behind her to cover her mouth, forcefully dragging her into the dark alley. And this scene happened to be seen by Liu Ping'an, who was wandering towards this side not far away. Oh! Finally found it. Liu Ping'an's lips widened in his mask, his eyes filled with a smile, and he quickly walked towards the small alley. In the dark alley. After being dragged into the alley, the drunkenness on the woman's face disappeared instantly, replaced by extreme fear. Woo-woo. The woman desperately slapped her big hands, her head constantly swaying left and right, her legs constantly staring at the ground, trying to break free and escape from here. But what made her despair was that her strength was too weak to break free, and she could only watch the lights getting farther and farther with fearful eyes, while she was also getting closer to the abyss. Pop it. Ah. After dragging the woman into the innermost part of the alley, he threw her directly onto the wall at the end of the alley. The woman who collided with the wall and then fell to the ground immediately let out a scream. Chapter 9. Block Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pop it. Pain. The woman who had fallen to the ground had a twisted expression on her originally fearful face. Then, she lifted her head and saw two black figures ahead under a faint moonlight. Hee hee. Women, don't be afraid, don't think about shouting, believe me, no one will come. One of the figures said in a playful tone, if you don't want to die, just be obedient. Our brothers don't want to die either. Upon hearing this, the woman couldn't help but feel even more fearful in her heart. Instinctively, she moved her body on the ground and leaned back, until her back collided with the wall at the end of the alley before regaining some consciousness. That. The woman's throat wriggled and instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Her tone trembled slightly and she said, What do you want to do? At this moment, another figure spoke, Big brother, upon closer inspection, this woman looks pretty good and her voice is also quite pleasant. How about we? I didn't say anything later, but just this lewd tone made the woman's heart even more anxious and uneasy. Oh. Upon hearing this, the elder brother took 2 steps forward and carefully examined the woman's appearance. He couldn't help but nod in satisfaction and said, It's really great. Upon hearing this, the woman quickly lowered her head and said in a trembling voice, Please spare me. I can take anything valuable from me. Please spare me. Upon hearing this, the older brother couldn't help but laugh and said, I'll spare you. It's not impossible. Upon hearing this, the woman couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope in her heart. With a slightly excited expression, she wanted to take off her small bag. But the next sentence from the elder brother wiped out her hope. As long as you make our brother's care comfortable, we will naturally spare you, ha. Big brother is absolutely right. So, woman, do you prefer being proactive or passive? Ha. The 2 brothers burst out laughing together and approached the woman while laughing. The woman saw this and put her bag in front of her with a face full of ashes, completely sinking into endless darkness. Dang. A tin can was kicked behind 2 people, making an unusually loud sound. The The two brothers changed their faces and turned around with extreme displeasure, wanting to see who was such a jerk that ruined their good deeds. The woman also looked up with a hopeful expression, and when she saw a tall figure, a ray of light surged in her heart. "Hey, kid, who let you in?" After seeing that it was just one person, the little brother immediately walked towards Liu Ping'an with a fierce expression on his face. In his view, 2-on-1, the advantage lies in him. The displeasure of being ruined, coupled with the desire to show off in front of his older brother, makes his footsteps faster and faster. "Let the master teach you today, it's the end of meddling." The younger brother clenched his fist with a wild smile and ran straight towards Liu Ping'an. Ha! Bang! Liu Ping'an looked at the man who approached actively and kicked him directly in the stomach, arched his body, his eyes bulging, flew backwards 2 or 3 meters, and rolled back on the ground. The big brother, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly felt unhappy when he saw his little brother rolling back on the ground. Nausea. Especially when he saw his younger brother kneeling at his feet, covering his stomach and vomiting in pain, it made him feel even more embarrassed. Of course, being able to kick his little brother like this with just one kick, the big brother naturally felt a hint of fear in his heart. But when he touched the dagger in his pocket and gestured twice, he was full of confidence again. "I don't believe anyone is not afraid of a knife yet." With this thought in mind, big brother didn't beep much and crossed over little brother's vomit, gesturing for a dagger while heading straight towards Liu Ping'an. "Be careful." Seeing this scene, the woman sitting on the ground couldn't help but shout. "Stinky woman, I'll deal with you later." Big brother was extremely unhappy in his heart, but he didn't stop walking. Instead, he held a dagger and charged towards Liu Ping'an. "Kid, go to hell." Looking at the man rushing towards him, Liu Ping'an did not choose to kick the man's wrist because he did not have the ability to split and cross. Liu Ping'an did not choose to wait because the distance was too close and it was difficult to block, so he chose to take the initiative to attack. The best defense is to attack, taking advantage of the distance to block at any time. Liu Ping'an stomped heavily and charged forward with leverage. His left hand blocked in front of him, and his right fist seemed to be clenched. Shwa! Liu Ping'an quickly approached the man, his left hand blocking the path of the dagger in front of his right wrist. At the same time, the seemingly non-clenched right fist instantly swung towards the man's temple, and as it approached the temple, it exploded with force and exploded. Bang! A muffled sound was emitted. The man's head tilted in an instant, his eyes turned white, his body tilted backwards, and then he fell heavily to the ground with a thud, fainting on the spot. This punch is similar to an inch punch, but not entirely. An inch punch is a boxing technique that accelerates instantly over a short distance and does not require energy accumulation, while this punch requires energy accumulation in advance before erupting. Who? Liu Ping'an withdrew his fists, exhaled lightly, and then stepped over the unconscious man, walking quickly towards the vomiting man. You! Bang! The man had a painful expression on his face and wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he was kicked in the temple by Liu Ping'an, his head smashed to the ground, and he followed his elder brother's footsteps and passed out. How impressive! Although the woman's vision was not very clear due to the dim light, she was still deeply impressed by the fact that she could solve the battle with 3 strikes and 5 divisions. Liu Ping'an glanced at the woman sitting on the ground and reminded, "When do you want to sit?" Ah! The woman finally realized and didn't care about the pain on her body. She quickly stood up and approached Liu Ping'an, bowing at a 90-degree angle. "Thank you so much." Liu Ping'an responded calmly and then said, "Hurry up and leave. Remember, try to stay away from this kind of place when you go home in the future." "Yes, I won't get close to this place again." "Thank you so much. By the way, benefactor, there are some valuable things in my bag." "No need, hurry up and leave here." Liu Ping'an suddenly said in a tone, "Don't say more, I'm in a hurry." "Yes, I understand." The woman recognized Liu Ping'an's meaning and didn't say much. She bowed again and walked towards the outside of the alley. Chapter 10. Female Heroes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Watching the woman's figure disappear at the corner of the alley, Liu Ping'an went straight to the vomiting man's side and began to search. Because this man had some vomit on his body, Liu Ping'an searched quite hard to avoid the burial site. 1 minute later, Liu Ping'an counted the specific amount in his wallet: 0.100000 yen. Mad. You're quite wealthy riding horses. Liu Ping'an threw his wallet aside, collected the money into a stronger space, and then headed straight for the dagger man. Half a minute later, Liu Ping'an casually threw away his wallet and put the 200,000 yen he found into a stronger space. The meal expenses have come back. Hutonku. The lights here are very bright, and the closer you get, the more it feels like you have come to a bright world. Hello, that one. As soon as he walked out of the alley, Liu Ping'an saw the woman just now. Under the light, Liu Ping'an also completely saw her appearance. It has to be said that she is indeed quite beautiful. Even if there is some mud and dust on her body and face, it can be seen that she is a beautiful woman. Is there anything else? Liu Ping'an was a bit puzzled and didn't hurry home. What are you waiting for here for? Well, my name is Rino Yamanaka. I really appreciate you saving me just now. As she spoke, Yamanashi bowed 90 degrees again and handed the bag in her hand to Liu Ping'an. Liu Ping'an glanced at Li Na in the mountain, and his tone remained calm. I told you, there's no need. I didn't save you just to repay you, he said, just now. I saw the wallet. Yamanashi slowly stood up, her eyes flickering as she whispered. Liu Ping'an. Mad, at that time, my attention was too focused and the distance was too far, and I didn't notice it. It seems that I still lacked experience. Why don't you hurry home and look back at me? Liu Ping'an's tone was somewhat speechless. This horse rider, pretending to be a hero on the first day, ended up in failure. Who should I argue with? That. I forgot to tell you my name, so said Yamanashi with some embarrassment, cough. Although he was a bit speechless, Liu Ping'an didn't take it too seriously. Alright, I understand. Take your things back. A gentleman loves wealth and takes it in a proper way. I'm not interested in your money, he said. Yamanaka Rino. Is there a way to take it? Is that appropriate to say? No matter who is being robbed, it will eventually be a robbery. Of course, I think so, but it's difficult for the pair in the mountain to say so, so I can only slowly retrieve the bag. Sigh. Liu Ping'an sighed helplessly and said, Alright, that's it. Pairs in the mountains, right? Yes. Yamanashi nodded. Hurry up and go home. Otherwise, your family should be worried about you, and I don't need you to repay. Liu Ping'an shook his head and turned to leave. Ah no, I don't know your name yet. Yamanashi asked anxiously. Fate will bring us together, but fate will never bring us back. Liu Ping'an said without looking back. Also, there's no need to come to such a place specifically to find me, save yourself from getting involved. Shanzhongli stared blankly at Liu Ping'an's back, unable to recall for a long time, just watching his back gradually drift away. There is no other way. Heroes saving beauty may be cliché, but it cannot be outdated because humans need heroes. Such an unforgettable experience may be remembered by Yamanaka for a lifetime. Late at night at 11 o'clock. Once again, Liu Ping'an solved a pair of hidden alleyways in a two-person group. He flicked his wallet and put the small money into a stronger space, then decided to put it away. Nowadays, there are fewer and fewer people on the streets, and even a two-person group like this alley has to leave work, making it difficult to find them again. And this time, Liu Ping'an solved a total of 6 such combinations, earning nearly 2 million yen, which can be said to be a huge sum of money. It has to be said that no one is rich without windfall, and no horse is fat without night grass. The ancient sincerely did not deceive me, which is truly a wise saying. And these two-person groups are really wealthy, not one of them has less than 100,000 yuan, they are all wealthy. If it weren't for wasting time looking for them, Liu Ping'an felt that the gains could even be doubled. Mad, you can't have a fixed street, I have to search for it one by one. Liu Ping'an walked out of the alley with an unsatisfied expression, looked left and right, and headed straight to a pork chops restaurant that said it was open 24 hours a day. Entering the store, Liu Ping'an ordered a large order of pork chops and rice, as well as a portion of happy water, and then focused on the small money in a stronger space. Hee. The corners of Liu Ping'an's mouth slightly curled under his mask, and he couldn't help but laugh. Dee. At this moment, a car honked and a woman wearing a white coat with long hair draped over her shoulders walked into the store. Boss, a large order of pork chop rice and a glass of beer. The woman's voice was very bold and full of confidence. After ordering, she sat not far from Liu Ping'an, looking like a regular customer. Understood, this is for you to do. The female boss brought out a pork chop rice and a bottle of happy water and placed them in front of Liu Ping'an. She said, please use it slowly, and then went back to make pork chop rice. Gollum. After smelling the aroma of pork chops, the woman couldn't help but moan in her stomach, and could only look eagerly at the pork chops and rice in front of Liu Ping'an. Golyalu. A growl that was even more hungry than a woman began. After hearing the loud noise, the woman couldn't help but look at Liu Ping'an with a surprised expression. Did you make a mistake? I didn't care about you. Is your stomach screaming so loudly? Liu Ping'an felt quite embarrassed when he saw the woman's expression. He had no choice but to grab. No, it was because he had been chivalrous all night and had consumed a lot of energy. It's strange that he wasn't hungry. Of course, on the surface, Liu Ping'an is very indifferent, and as long as I am not embarrassed, what is awkward is the thoughts of others. Liu Ping'an calmly lifted his hat, took off his mask, and revealed a plain face. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating very calmly. He bit the pork chops in big bites, swallowed the rice in big gulps, and then poured a big gulp of happy water in hiccup. Hiccup. Cool. With a satisfied expression on her face, the woman watched as she kept swallowing saliva and her stomach screamed even more fiercely. At this moment, the female boss brought the woman's pork chops, rice, and beer and placed them in front of her. Women are not reserved either, they just pick up chopsticks and start eating big mouthfuls without caring about their appearance, very generous. And also after taking a big sip of beer, I let out a long hiccup and exclaimed pleasantly. Upon seeing this, Liu Ping'an couldn't help but take a serious look at the woman. Not only was she really beautiful, but she also had a heroic beauty. One night, Liu Ping'an met two beautiful women in a row, and couldn't help but marvel at how different the world is.